I'd like to say a few points. Thank you very much for the introduction. I very much enjoyed the previous panel. I now continue, but I won't at this point. But would rather like to bring your attention to what we are going to discuss, and this is what you've said, Vedran, and I'm very much grateful that you brought us into a context defined by the new policies, including the new wording developed by the Commission. And if you really look at the map and try to sail down the Danube, all of these countries are rightly part of the region. They are diverse, as you've said. You were mentioning democracy index. We can use any other model, language, culture, religion. So we may define and redefine all of these communities, but these communities are along one of the key resources of Europe, wider than this is the EU. In every respect, resource, when it comes to traffic, transport, when it comes to water, one of the increasingly scarce resources. When it comes to economic potential, when it comes to historical and cultural exchange along this river. And therefore I am very much supportive, and I have a high esteem for efforts also Erhard personally has put in defining this concept, and I really appreciate the fact through the decades-old work through his Institute for Danube. So now we are there, or at least we are almost there to have a kind of an attempt to conceptualize communities with a huge economic potential, and this is why I really hope that we will move from where we are, a defined concept, into concrete engagement. From what I've seen, some colleagues of mine in this panel will be more precise in defining what are potential ideas, how to cooperate in this region. Here I'll stop and say one cautious note. You have listed those who are part of the Danube strategy, and you know who you have not listed? As the Secretary General of the Regional Cooperation Council, I have to be politically correct. Therefore, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia is not in. Kosovo is not in. And this is not necessarily a problem. But then the other big strategy that we've been part of for years, the Adriatic Union, they are not in. The third one coming, the gateways of Europe, they are not in. What is happening? I'm not, but try to put yourself in the shoes of Macedonian citizen. Who we are? How come that the three key EU strategies do not count us in? I just wanted to make a point, a critical remark on the all-inclusiveness of European initiatives as well, which I hope will be soon overcome. I hope sincerely that this broader context will be taken into consideration, and then we will be where we should be, also while defining the Danube region, because these people should also be part of the process. I'd also like to introduce something you have mentioned, and thank you very much for that, Vedran. And you have mentioned that coming from Sarajevo, in a way inheriting from Busek, from the Stability Pact and what he has done, Regional Cooperation Council, which is now in the 6th year of its existence, has developed what you have mentioned, and it is called Southeast Europe 2020 Strategy. We gave it a pompous name. It is called Jobs, Prosperity, and European Integration. We did it deliberately, and this is why I spoke the way I spoke 20 minutes back, trying to be very honest in saying we feel that there are problems around us. You may say these are the problems linked to democracy and how it functions. I may now focus a bit more to the economic and social conditions people are living in the countries. You use the word Western Balkans, I will do the same in the Western Balkans. This is why we have developed a strategy which is very much focused on development and growth. In a way, we are shifting from where Stability Pact was, and this is peace and reconciliation, into where we all are today in economic and financial crisis. Therefore, we are refocusing the engagement of the organization into issues related to economic development, employability, and growth. This strategy, SE 2020, is all-inclusive in terms of peoples and countries. Therefore, who is counted in when it comes to the SE 2020? It is, I'll start from south, Albania, Kosovo, Serbia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Croatia. Of course, we do respect the fact that as of a few months back, Croatia is bound by the Europe 2020 strategy, and therefore, of course, we are more flexible. So Croatia, and I've discussed it last evening with Minister Busek, can in a way opt to focus on few issues from the SE 2020 and, of course, follow the path already defined by its citizen, and this is to continue with Europe 2020. This strategy, SE 2020, is based on the agreement reached last year in November in Tirana by the ministers of economy from the region, who have tried to assess the problems in economic development in each and every country, as well as in the region, and they've agreed on 11 regional targets and a list of 77 national targets, and I won't list them. But I would like to simply tell you briefly what it is about. They've defined targets having in mind the 2010 as a base year and the horizon of 2020. One of these targets is related to GDP, and for me this is the most striking one. The average GDP in the region, as I've defined it now, listing the countries, in 2010 was roughly at the level of 38, there is another calculation, 36, doesn't really matter, percent of what at that time was the EU 27 average. Only. So in spite of the investment done by both, Washington or Brussels, bringing all of them together, in times of war and after the war, we are still on 38. And the target defined by the Minister of Economy to reach by 2020 is to get to the point of 46% only of what at that time is going to be EU 28. For me, striking. A figure to pose on. But these are realities, and they bite. This is where we are. When it comes to employment, the average is 40%, so the hope is that we will reach 45% of employment. And it's mainly youth unemployed. And you have at least two societies. Most are very old. Mine, Serbian, very old. But you have a very young, vivid Kosovo and Albania, with a huge number of young people unemployed. Every fifth is unemployed and with no real perspective to get employed. This is another target, to increase employment. We have lost in times of crisis since 2008 800,000 jobs. Therefore, the target is to increase, to define, to create 1 million of new jobs by 2020. So these are the targets. And a very important component, I'd say, education. But look how we've defined it, and I'm not sure whether we were right or wrong, but this is where we are. Roughly, this region is producing 1 million of highly educated youth every year. We hope to increase the number of highly educated youth to 1,300,000 by 2020. Why did I say I'm a bit not sure whether this is right or wrong? Because what I've learned in the meantime, and I've taken over only as of January, is, we in Croatia, in Serbia, in Bosnia, in the countries that I've listed, we enjoy an idea of being highly educated in terms of university degree, master's, previously actually magisterium, and then PhD, doctorate. And last week I had a consultation in Switzerland, and I got this reaction. We Swiss, we have the lowest number of highly educated people in Europe. And I was like, what? And we are proud for it. And I said, what? They said, but look, our education system is all about vocational training. Our people are trained to work. It's not about degrees. It's about being ready. I think in Germany, we have a lot to learn from Germany when it comes to vocational training education. Therefore, maybe we should also rethink our strategy. I'm not against, look, I've spent 10 years at university. I love discussing as we did a few minutes back. I enjoy it. But on the other hand, we need to be practical and to see what do we do with these people. I'd be very radical, as I was a few minutes back, to say we live in times that we are going to see unemployable states. Not strata in societies, states. So it is really crucial to rethink the way we function as communities, states, societies. It is hitting hard. Look, who is protesting? Who is in strike? Only state servants who can go down for one level because they have something to lose. Labor, never, because there is nothing to lose. Therefore, you stay where you are. So, I went a bit further, trying to explain why do I feel that there is a problem. Why did I spoke the way I spoke? Because I would request a new intellectual offer. Some of you are part of the 60s in terms of the way you were educated, in terms of the way your political thinking has developed. But in the 68, there was intellectual offer. So this popular student revolt was followed by an offer. We live in times where this intellectual offer is very limited. So people, as I mentioned, Bulgaria, they vote for something and they get all the same and they don't know where to move. And it happens in the countries, and I can list each and every one of these. This is why I very much enjoyed the previous panel. I think this is what we need to rethink the societies we are living in. When it comes to Regional Cooperation Council and what do we do, this is what you should expect from us. This strategy that I mentioned is to be adopted by Ministers of Economy on November 21st. I've just negotiated in Belgrade with a very positive outcome. I had a very good dinner with Minister Pusic when it comes to Croatia. I'm quite happy that we are getting closer to the adoption formally on November 21st. Then I have to say, and I want to say, we are very well supported by the European Commission, and I'm grateful, to try to channel, not another paper, there are strategies around us, but to really try to channel the activities and action which will be followed by a national action plan. So this is what I discussed, both in Belgrade, Zagreb, and in the countries around on a high political level. What you're going to do in Croatia to add to this figure of expected 300,000 more highly educated to bring your 50,000? What is your idea? And there we actually meet the expectation and meet the policies already developed in each and every country. Of course, every government around us is busy these days when it comes to employment and how they're going to increase employment. They're all busy with dealing with the reduction of budgetary deficit. They're all busy with dealing with increase of GDP. So they are there, and we just try to somehow give them an impulse with this strategy saying, look, this is what you agreed on. These are the goals. Not necessarily you have to be there in 10 years or by 2020, but try to move from where you are. And let's ask for a cooperative attitude among your neighbors and those who can help. And in this case, this is the Commission. And before I stop, I would like to say that this strategy is fully fitting into the strategies I mentioned, and we are discussing today the Danube strategy. Because not all, but most of these countries are already part of the Danube strategy. And therefore, I think that in the years to come, we have a real opportunity to link each and every one, including those two that are not yet part of it, into a cooperative spirit, which will engage them along the Danube, and by doing so, bring them back to where they are. This is Europe. Call it European Union, use any other name, not necessarily, because we don't know how it will look in 10 or 20 years, but bring them to Europe in every respect. Not necessarily political membership, though I am all in favor, but in contextual meaning when it comes to morale, and it was mentioned a few minutes back, when it comes to the values these people live in, when it comes to societies, the way they are developed, and when it comes to economic engagement and interconnection and interlink with all other around us. This is what it means becoming Europe. To really get as close as possible to what is the average of the EU. And I'll stop here and would like to say how grateful I am for the invitation and supportive for the Center for Advanced Studies, because we need to have this intellectual exchange when it comes to general issues, as we did a few minutes back, but also when it comes to very precise policies, definition, elaboration, and implementation of the policies. And this is the one I'm very happy to discuss, the Danube region, and I've just offered another incentive, and this is the SC 2020, so that you know what you should expect from us in the coming years. Thank you.